The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the producers and the individuals appearing on this program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the staff of the Sun Prairie Media Center, its members or underwriters, the board members of the Media Center Commission, Charter Communications, TDS Telecom, or the staff and elected officials of the City of Sun Prairie.
Hello and welcome to Real Reviews. My name is Jamison Rabbit, and the man seated next to me can tell you a few secrets about the Crypt Keeper. His name is Mike Roth.
He's awesome.
Yeah?
I loved him. Well, you had to love him. It was like a pop culture thing back in the 90s,
Of course.
right?
Yeah.
But the comic books itself was fantastic. And I tried collecting all the original EC comics of that. It's a very expensive
Did he
hobby.
get into the Crypt Keeper backstory at all? Do we know who he was?
No. Well, you know, he had two other partners, but no one ever talks about them anymore because HBO only made the Crypt Keeper popular. But we also had the Witch's Cauldron, and
I had no idea what I was stumbling into. It.
yeah, it's fantastic. EC comics were fantastic. I love those things, and they're nice little short stories. Movies were fantastic too, and I'm the only one who believes that. Bordello Blood, the
Devil's Night? Was it Dark Knight?
It was
Demon Knight.
Demon Knight. Yep.
There you go. Great soundtrack.
Yeah,
too.
with the Billy guy that you never see anymore. He was on Titanic, which we will get
Billy
you to watch.
Zane.
Billy Zane. Yeah, where did he go? He got a haircut. No one ever saw him again.
I feel like we should have the more you know thing come across the screen now. There's so much I didn't know about. Pretty incredible. So this week we have a few movies on the marquee, as well as the start of a new series that we're going to be doing for the next couple of months. I'm kind of excited to get into that. But I'm going to get it started off with what we have on the marquee this week. And the first film we have is a film called Ready or Not.
I am.
Hey, hi. He is. Ready or Not stars Samara Weaving as Grace and Mark O'Brien as Alex. They are a newly married couple. In fact, it is their wedding night, and their wedding night turns horrific as Grace is forced to join the groom's family tradition of playing a game that turns out to be life or death, more or less.
Yeah.
And the family is this storied board game company, family that owns this board game company. Basically, your Milton Bradley family. And it is their tradition that they must play a game on the night of a wedding. And sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's evil, and
Super evil.
sometimes you gotta kill the bride. And this movie turns into a bit of a horror comedy.
Yeah.
And I think it has equal parts of both in a really nice balancing act. And it's a family full of really fun characters. Specifically, there's an aunt.
Yeah, she was awesome. I loved her
Amazing. Yeah, she's like the first glimpse of her. She's got this amazing frowny evil face.
Just a scowl. Just
Scowl, exactly it. I also, the dad, played by Henry Czerny, is pretty hilarious. He's, the family patriarch, and it's his job to make sure that this ceremony happens or the whole family is going to be destroyed under this curse that the family lives under. And, hilarious, awful things happen along the way. We also have Andie MacDowell as the mother in the family. Kind of interesting to see her in a role like this. But it's a movie full of crazy kills, full of laughs, and lots of gore.
And I really appreciate horror comedies. It's like a genre that you don't see too much.
Yeah.
Sometimes it kind of skirts on it a little bit.
I think if you tilt too far to the comedy, you lose it.
Yeah.
And it's a tough line.
Yeah, and I think they'd had a great little balance. There was a lot of adventure. I wasn't really sure what the outcome was going to be, which is
that's cool.
Usually when you see jerks being jerks, that person's going to die right away. This one, obviously the husband, played by Adam Brody, he was a jerk by not telling his wife the situation beforehand, and I always kind of guessed what his role was going to be. I really thought this movie was fun. It was adventurous, It was funny. I definitely will own this movie when it comes out. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed this.
And it's a movie, you know, the mansion becomes a character.
yeah.
You know, much like We Love Clue,
Mm-hmm.
kind of same thing. Like, oh, you know, where are they going? And there's just, you know, because they're just so opulent that there's just secret passageways everywhere. And it's like, we got to find them, you know. We're literally playing hide and seek.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like, it's a film that I told everyone after I saw it, it's a film that got better as it went along.
Yeah.
Like, it set up something, and as it went along, it was more and more enjoyable, and the characters were more and more fun to be around.
Mm-hmm.
And I missed certain characters when they weren't on screen for a little while. I was like, oh, get back to him now. What's going on here? And it's a family that's this out-of-touch family that you don't mind seeing them get their comeuppance.
Yeah.
You're kind of hoping that some of these people get some sort of comeuppance for being awful humans.
And you could tell from the previews with the amount of blood that you see, a lot of these people do get. Well, the maids really weren't too.
Poor maids.
They're poor
They're
maids.
just used as a trope, but it's a hilarious trope.
It
I
is.
liked her.
She was nice.
Yeah, Ready or Not, it was you know, I had decent hopes for it.
Yeah.
And it kind of exceeded that.
I've been looking forward to this ever since I saw the preview maybe a couple of months ago. I never got tired of seeing the preview, and it paid off. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed this movie.
What did you give this
I think
movie?
this is the most fun I've had in a while.
Ooh.
Fun movies. Yeah, there's good movies.
Yeah.
There's ones that pull at your heartstring.
Yeah.
But fun comes around a little bit rare.
I agree.
I gave it a 3.5.
That's exactly what I gave it. It was a fun time.
Mhm.
It was an enjoyable time. Like I said, it's a tough balancing act to pull off the horror comedy and not be cheesy.
Yeah.
You know, and it didn't. You could read the script and say some of this dialogue is pretty hokey,
Yeah.
but it worked.
Yeah.
I had fun with it. So yeah, I agree with you. 3.5 stars. Go check out Ready or Not. Speaking of amazing dialogue,
And I have not been looking forward to this one.
what do you
but,
have for us?
Angel Has Fallen. This is the third of all those. Olympus Has Fallen.
The Mike
and-
Banning trilogy.
Yeah. So pretty much we have Gerald. This is directed by Rick Roman Wrong.
Okay,
Raw? Okay.
I'm with you.
We're going to go with that. Gerard Butler, he's back again. He plays Mike Banning. He is the head of security for the President of the United States, who's played, he is Trumbo, I believe that's what his name, President. Yeah.
Yeah.
Played by Morgan Freeman. And this one, it sets off where Gerard Butler, he's thinking about retirement, which I kind of hope. First movie, but he didn't. So he's thinking about retirement. He's talking to the president, and just as he's trying to figure out his retirement goals, all these drones come out, blows up everybody one by one, but except the important people at the very end, because that's how you're supposed to do action. And the president is in a coma, and the only surviving person is Mike Banning. Mike Banning, of course, is accused. He was framed. He was set up. He's accused of being the coordinator of this strike.
This man's
to
a
kill the president.
worldwide hero. Why would you do that to him?
I don't know. Everybody loves him so much, but he's on a quest to try to find out who the killer is and also save his own skin.
Right.
We're also visited by Nick Nolte, who plays his dad.
I want to know.
Which
Nick Nolte
Okay.
does not have the Scottish accent. He's like, oh, here's my dad. You're like, hey, son, how you doing?
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute, come on.
maybe
with this.
it was from the mother's side.
Oh, of
Yeah,
course.
those things are really.
course.
Yeah, it's all just DNA. But he was the installment in this movie which brought the bar up.
Sure.
And I'm not saying it's a high bar.
Oh, it's
at
a
all.
low bar to clear.
It was a very low bar, but having the extra comedy and humor of having Nick Nolte as the dad, I thought really brightened this movie up a little bit. Not enough where it's good, but it was enough where I thought this was watchable, which is not what I gave
neither
the
of
other
us
two.
Neither of us have enjoyed this series.
No,
and I think they've been pretty dumb.
Yeah, they're absurdly stupid.
And one of the things that I kind of liked about this, like, so look, Tim Blake Nelson plays the vice president
Yeah.
in this movie. And Danny Houston is the
evil guy, Wade Johnson.
Danny Houston, every time he shows up in a movie, immediately I go, well, he's going to be the snake.
Yeah.
Every time. Spoiler alert. Every time he
Every
shows up in a
time.
movie. And so you know within 10 minutes who the bad guys are going to be in this movie, right? It's not well shielded.
No.
but somehow this isn't as stupid as the previous two. I think one of the things I liked about the most was this wasn't a movie. Unlike the previous two, Gerard Butler's not dragging the president around everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
Which was
Well, he can't.
Right.
He's in a coma.
Well, and I love that because I thought that got really old in the second one of dragging Aaron Eckhart around everywhere he went. And I don't want to see him pulling Morgan Freeman around, running and explosions are going off. You know, that's not cool. And the action in this one was fun enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's fine. And the connective tissue of, like, dialogue and plot was pretty bad.
Yeah.
But the action was fine, and it was kind of standard action flick stuff going on.
Yeah, there was still a lot of absurd moments, but it wasn't as absurd as going through London and all of a sudden, once a problem happens, every civilian happens to be in a safe spot somewhere.
Exactly.
That's weird. In this one, Gerard Butler, he's on the run through the wilderness, so you expect no civilians to be out there.
Yeah.
There's no homes. You know, whatever.
This movie, it feels like it's right in Gerard Butler's wheelhouse of mediocrity.
Yeah.
I feel like he really revels in mediocre movies.
He likes movies where he is
More
younger
macho. Oh,
and
younger? More macho
what
than
he really
anybody
is.
you meet.
And one of the things that kind of ticked me off about these kind of movies is the aging action hero, which is great, but it seems like almost all the action movies that come out, we're putting actors in there that are well over their 50s, which is not really something that is real. And it's great. Gerard Butler does his thing really well, but it's more of a thing like, hey, us old guys can do young things too. And it becomes trope. It's how all action movies are made lately, and it just infuriates me. I'm glad they're getting the jobs. I just want something different.
I feel like Gerard Butler he is one of those guys who's like, doesn't matter how good it is. I'm just going to show up. I'm going to do my thing.
No.
I don't really care.
No.
Also, because I'm a stickler for I've always been a stickler for this, and it's whatever, but accents really drive me nuts when they're done wrong or when they're in and out. And no one is worse at that lately than Gerard Butler. This movie, he is alternately got his thick Scottish brogue and then sometimes tries to flatten it out into an American accent. And it's never consistent, and that just drives me nuts in movies.
Yeah.
And he's very guilty of this all the time.
There's some really goofy scenes in here too, like when the bad guys go into his home to get and the baby immediately cries. And it's like, these were the nicest intruders ever. Why is your baby screaming that much? But it brings up the intensity needlessly.
Gotta have intensity. What did you give Angel Has Fallen?
I gave it a watchable 2.5, which is way higher than all the other movies.
That's a full star higher than we've given anything else he's done.
I could sit through this. Well, he had that tag one that was decent. I mean, it wasn't.
I can sit through this.
I could sit through this. This is my star review.
An amazing recommend from Mike. And I agree with Mike because I believe I gave it 2.5 stars as well. There you go, 2.5.
2.5 stars.
2.5 stars. I totally could sit through this movie. I don't want to again.
No,
This might be the lamest trilogy of action movies.
I'm surprised that it made it this far, but there is a fan base. There are people out there who just love these kind of movies, and that's
people
awesome.
like blood sausage too. Do you want some blood sausage?
No, I don't. No.
All right. The next movie we have on the marquee, sir, is a movie starring Shia LaBeouf. This film is called The Peanut Butter Falcon. Shia LaBeouf stars as a guy named Tyler. We also have a new man entering the frame here. Zach Gotteskin plays a character named Zach. And Zach is, in real life and in this movie, is a young man with Down syndrome. In this film, he is living in a nursing home with elderly residents, but he has dreams of becoming a professional wrestler like his hero, Saltwater Redneck, played by Thomas Hayden Church. And Zach, with the help of his roommate, Bruce Dern there, runs away. And he is a bit ill-prepared for the real world because he's never really been in it. Tyler, Shia LaBeouf's character, is a real scumbag who is always hustling and working on kind of the wrong side of legal in order to just kind of survive. He's got some even worse guys, played by John Hawkes.
Actually, I wasn't
and
even
Yellow
sure
Wolf.
if they were worse. They were really justified in what they wanted.
Right. I mean,
They were really kind about it to a point. Either way, continue. I'm sorry.
They're all guys. They're on his tail for some of the things that he did at his last job. And so while he's kind of on the run, he and Zach meet up out on the run. And Tyler is not the compassionate type. He's selfish, but he shows just a bit of heart and agrees to help Zach get to where he's going. Zach wants to get down to the Saltwater Rednecks Wrestling School and become a wrestler. And so he says, I'll take you that far. But you got to do what I say. You always got to follow rule number 1. Mike, what's rule number 1?
Don't slow him down.
Nope, it's party.
Oh, it's party. You're right. I was thinking of the real rules.
Party. And both of them are on the run. Both of them are on the run from people that are chasing him. Zach has Eleanor, played by Dakota Johnson, who is in charge of him at the nursing home. She's out trying to find him because obviously you have a Down syndrome patient who just escaped and is out in the real world in a pair of underwear. Yeah. We got to find this guy. Tyler's on the run from these other guys who are chasing after him. And along the way, this really turns into like a modern day Mark Twain tale.
It really
of
does.
Two guys along the river, unlikely travel partners, bonding and learning from each other, and people are out on the hunt for them.
They also throw in a character you don't see too much. Mark, he is the brother of...
Sure.
Yeah, and I was a little disappointed with that part of the story.
John Barenthal.
Yeah.
Great actor. And is just shown in flashbacks.
Yeah, and this sets up the entire mood of Tyler. Why is Tyler like this? He used to be a happy character.
Something happened. There's a trauma. There's guilt.
I think Shia LaBeouf did a great job at portraying this character. I don't think this character should have been in this movie. This movie is really set up like a quirky comedy. They have a lot of weird things that doesn't happen in real life, like Dakota Johnson, Eleanor deciding that because her keys are lost, she's going to hang out with a homeless man with a gun.
First off, can we talk about how she tracked them down like across state lines and just showed up while they're like on a dry riverbed? She shows up.
I could justify
She's
that.
She's a bloodhound.
According to the line, it didn't look like there was much area to really go for. It was just land bridges.
Everybody's finding everybody out there.
But everybody was finding everybody really quickly. Dakota Johnson, for some reason, had to find this guy. They weren't going to do it legally. They just said, hey, go off and do that. All these things are things that you get in quirky comedies, and you can forgive certain things because the quirkiness. But Shia LaBeouf, he played a dark, brooding character who was very serious in his role. Fantastic at his character, but the character I didn't think was fantastic for this movie.
See, I liked him, and I liked him as the yin and the yang with Zach's innocence and his eagerness. And I liked how they worked, and as the movie went along and their bonding started to form, I really dug the two of them together. I thought Zach was just so sweet, and everything about him and their bonding felt authentic to me.
Okay.
I thought that Dakota Johnson's Eleanor character really felt out of place out of the three. She's the one that really felt out of place for me. Like, I would have been just fine if it was a story of the two of them the entire time.
Yeah.
Because that's what I liked. And I think Shia LaBeouf, like, he's had a few roles now in the last couple of years where he's just been phenomenal.
Yeah.
And he picks these weird roles in these smaller movies. He's not doing Transformers movies anymore. He's finding these smaller roles that he can really dig his teeth into, and I like that. I'm all for that.
I really like his acting in this one. I didn't think it was placed well in this movie. And this movie, on top of this, it is beautiful. It is gorgeous.
Yes.
It gave you a sense of adventure as you're going through the rural South, which I thought was fantastic. There's some little adventurous moments that really hooked me in. I didn't really care for the quirky montages too much, but then again, this movie, I think, is supposed to be quirky, so that kind of stuff was supposed to happen. I just find it kind of too typical when it comes down to indie movies. They have a little segment where there's music and they're doing weird things like Watermelon Helmets.
I love the soundtrack.
The soundtrack was fantastic. It was phenomenal. Nice Americana music. The orchestra was actually just maybe 7 people, and they name them all one by one. I thought that was great.
It was interesting, too, because for this film, we have a lot of, like, big-name actors doing basically cameos. Bruce Dern's in this movie for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
John Barenthal doesn't have a line of dialogue in this movie. He's just seen through dream sequences. You know, I mentioned John Hawkes, who's a great actor. He's the guy who's chasing after them.
Yeah.
You also have, oddly to me, we pull out some old guys. We got Jake the Snake Roberts,
Yeah.
Mick Foley, a.k.a. Mankind from the WWF.
And I wouldn't have recognized them unless you mentioned it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, wow. And this sounds like a perfect little thing for them. It's They are definitely older people.
Yeah.
And they need something that's a nice, light job. But, you know, you're being recognized for being in a wrestling movie. And you were a very popular wrestler.
Why not?
Yeah.
One of the things that I really think, though, is the most important thing is Zach and the actor Zachary. Because he's a Down syndrome actor. And I don't think that they condescended to him or his character in this movie. I thought that they were very honest with him and never treated him as like less than or look down on him or make you feel sorry for him.
Yeah.
He's a brave guy. He's got dreams. He's chasing his dreams, and he's never treated as a burden or, you know, he's treated as a regular person who has an affliction, but let's help him live that dream. Let's see what we can do. And I like that. I thought he was a lot of fun.
And there was a scene in here where Eleanor, she is talking to him like she normally would talk to him, which is friendly, and you could tell that she cares a lot for him, but at the same time, it was talking down to him, and they brought that to the point.
Charlotte
And I
was like,
thought
why are you
that
talking to him like that?
I thought that was great, but at the same time, I'm thinking, well, she's also trying to protect him from a homeless man with a gun, trying to take him all the way to a thing that he saw on a VHS tape.
Yeah.
Maybe she needed to have control.
What did you give the Peanut Butter Falcon?
I gave it a 3. There was a lot of things I really enjoyed about this, but overall, the character, the quirkiness, and the stark, secret broodingness didn't mesh well for me, and therefore brought down the score a little bit.
I was hedging between a 3.5 and a 4.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. When I'm hedging, I always go for the lower score.
All right.
So I give it a 3.5. But it's an enjoyable movie. It's a movie that I would definitely recommend. Going out of your way to try and find.
I think
we don't see movies like this a lot.
No, I think it should get nominated for cinematography. I
agree.
really
It's really
think
beautiful.
it was beautiful film.
Speaking of a beautiful film with amazing cinematography, let's get into our new program. This week we are launching our new throwback segment. We are calling it Best in Show. We are going to be talking about movies that have won the big one, Best Picture at the Academy Awards. There's been 92 of them, I believe, 92 movies that have won Best Picture. And so we are kind of picking different ones throughout different decades that we want to focus on for our throwback.
And just like our last segment, this is a limited time, and we're going to go a couple of months doing this and get us all ready and hyped for the Oscars that
And
are
if
going to be
nothing
coming.
else, hopefully it guarantees we have at least one good movie to talk about every week. Fingers crossed. And so, as you said, we are going back to 1971 for a movie that I absolutely love the cinematography in this movie and how everything's laid out. But this is The French Connection from director William Friedkin. Stars Gene Hackman as Popeye Doyle. Let me tell you one quick little secret. Popeye Doyle is my favorite character in all of film.
Really?
Yeah, I love Popeye Doyle. I watch this movie probably twice a year.
He's kind of a jerk.
He's amazing. Gene Hackman is just
Gene Hackman
incredible.
is awesome.
And Roy Scheider as his partner, Buddy Russo. And this is kind of one of your original buddy cop flicks. A duo that doesn't always agree.
No.
They go about things in a little different way of getting the bad guys, but it's a film that features incredible chases. Really fun dynamics between the two partners, and great. What I love about it, it is very much, it feels like 1971. Great long shots, long uncut shots of people just walking, following each other down streets. Gorgeous stuff.
The things that bother me with this is the bigotry, and that just makes me crawl a little bit.
Sure.
He walks into a bar just filled with African Americans, and he's just like, everyone is guilty, everybody against the wall. I'm thinking, wow. Yeah,
That's how they did
this is
things.
a problem.
That's how
Every
they did it.
ethnicity had a racial slur on top of it. But the chase scenes were fantastic. I also thought it was weird. Like, you'd have Buddy and Popeye, and they're like beating up someone, and you have Buddy just kicking a guy in the chest, and then he'd push back Popeye, going, that's enough, that's enough. Next night, kicking him. It's like, are you the good cop or the bad cop?
That's right.
Because
They're
you're
not
really
sure.
bad cop.
This movie is one of my absolute favorite films ever. Like I said, I watch this. Even French Connection 2, I enjoy.
When it comes down to certain chase scenes, I wish they would do this again. And I was mentioning this before the show. There's this one particular scene. It's not fast action. It's just suspenseful, where your French character is in a subway and he's going someplace, and you have Popeye trying to track him without being obvious.
Right.
And there's a give and pull. They're not fast. He gets off.
Nope.
He gets back on. It's a little game that he's playing. It wasn't physically intense, but emotionally, it really got you.
And because they're patient with how they do it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be like, we just got to give it to them. Like, no, build it.
Yeah.
This is how it happens.
And in a lot of movies now, it's a lot of just cut scenes and rocking your camera all over the place and hoping people get it, or at least feel the emotion through the music or the. But this one, you saw every action, and that's not even the popular one. The popular one, of course, is the one where Gene Hackman confiscates someone's vehicle and he's running down the line underneath the bridge of the subway. That was a phenomenal scene. It's super intense. You get to see everything that's going on. Your heart races every time he gets to an intersection.
Right.
That kind of stuff doesn't really happen anymore. And I really appreciate that they could do this in '71. And we can't do it now with all our with all our technology.
This movie won Best Picture, obviously. It also won Best Actor for Gene Hackman, Best Director for Friedkin, Best Screenplay, Best Film Editing. It just took home a ton of awards, and that year it beat out for Best Picture films such as A Clockwork Orange, Fiddler on the Roof, The Last Picture Show, and a film Nicholas and Alexandra. So
that's
a pretty decent competition for the year.
That is pretty decent competition. I love Clockwork Orange. I know it's slow, but it's weird.
Of the time.
I love it.
So that is our first chapter of the Best in Show series. Next week we'll be back with another fun Best Picture winner. Let's take a look ahead, though, rather than taking a look behind. And let's take a look ahead what's coming out the weekend of September 6th. Mike, there's a real easy one for you. I got one movie and one movie only. It is the second installment of Stephen King's It. We get Chapter 2, the culmination of the Pennywise story coming out.
I know I mentioned this before. It's so weird how movies come out. We get 4 at a time, 4 at a time, 1.
Yeah.
1.
Yeah. It's very weird, but that's the only one coming in the theaters. It Chapter 2. Looking forward to that. Before we leave you, though, we have to thank our sponsor, The Palace here in Sun Prairie. Marcus Theaters, thank you for sponsoring this program. We always appreciate going to sit in a beautiful Dream Lounger. Mike and I, for the first time, now you might not know this, but Mike and I don't get a lot of time to actually go see these movies together. It's a lot of separate. This week, Peanut Butter Falcon, we got to sit together and watch this film.
It was nice.
It was nice.
We had some neighbors that were a little noisy.
Yeah, teenage girls. The worst. But we love us some Dream Loungers and a big old bucket of popcorn.
And secret for everybody, you want the Cheetos popcorn, get there on the weekend.
That's
or
why.
Don't, and leave some for me, because I love that stuff.
Pretty good stuff. Next week, sir, we have a film called Don't Let Go.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah, that looks interesting to me. We also have another Best in Show pictures I talked about. Here's something fun that comes out this week.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. Not a film, but on Netflix, we finally get the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance series.
I'm looking
So
forward
I don't
to
know how you all feel about Dark Crystal, but I have been looking forward to this for a long time. I was terrified by the movie. But I'm looking forward to the series.
Yeah, it was one of those movies as a kid I loved. I absolutely loved Jim Henson. You can't go wrong.
And they're doing this all in the original style.
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing CGI.
I appreciate
it's
that.
It's all Henson Muppet Studio, basically.
Maybe if we could binge that, we could.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Maybe something to talk about.
You know how many episodes?
I don't, but I thought I remembered seeing 6. We'll see.
They
might all be 2 hours long, though.
Yeah.
Who knows? But that will be coming out probably by the time you're watching this. It's already out. So take a look out for that on Netflix, and we'll see what else we have for you next week. But until that time, I'm Jamison.
I'm Mike Roth.
Thanks for watching.